yet cannot protect even their children. The galaxy heard, and they believed him. Mockery of patience. The Zyrex celebrated in halls of obsidian. Across their empire, broadcasts replayed the fall of New Carthage, highlighting the helpless cries of civilians, the silenced distress calls, the broken symbols of human resilience. Kersh drank spiced venom from a crystal chalice as his officers toasted the lesson given to Earth. "They will not strike back," he declared, his mandibles clicking in triumph. "Humans are creatures of treaties and morality. They will mourn, they will speak, but they will not act." Other species nodded in agreement. The Talar, the Vren, even the silent Lithari, all believed the same. Humanity was formidable, yes, but patient, careful, perhaps too civilized for vengeance. The Zyrex mistook patience for cowardice. They mistook silence for surrender. And they would pay in ways no empire had ever imagined. The silence breaks. For 3 days, Earth said nothing. Human diplomats did not speak. Human fleets did not move. The galaxy waited, expecting anger, but instead received only silence. The Zyrex, confident, began planning their next humiliation. On the 4th day, comm channels across the Orion Arm lit up. Every major relay carried the same chilling message, spoken in flawless, measured standard. New Carthage has fallen. Humanity has taken note. Retaliation is inevitable. Remove yourselves from Zyrex space if you wish to live. The voice was cold, devoid of emotion. It did not threaten, it promised. Reports flooded in of enormous fleets mobilizing from Earth, Luna, Mars, and the shipyards of Titan. Dreadnoughts that had never left their berths ignited their engines. Carriers the size of small moons began launching wave after wave of gunships and bombers. Across the colonies, the reserves were called, men and women in their millions, all swearing an oath of vengeance. In the black between stars, something stirred that had long been forgotten. The Sentinel Line, a wall of war platforms humanity had built in silence during their rise, each one bristling with enough firepower to reduce a planet to cinders. The galaxy realized too late, Earth had not been passive, Earth had been preparing. And now preparation was over. The roar of retaliation. When humanity struck, it was not with a counter-raid or a measured assault. It was with annihilation. The first Zyrex world to fall was Zereth Prime, their crown jewel, a fortress world thought impregnable. Human dreadnoughts dropped from hyperspace in perfect formation, blotting out the sun with their numbers. Orbital defenses opened fire, confident in their superiority. But humanity's weapons were different. Rail cannons the length of cities spat tungsten slugs at near-relativistic speeds, ripping through defense stations as if they were paper. Planet crackers unleashed beams that sliced continents apart. Within an hour, Zereth Prime's defenses were ash. Within 3, its capital city was a crater. By nightfall, the planet itself was reduced to glowing ruin. And humanity did not stop. They did not pause to negotiate. They did not accept surrender. Every Zyrex fleet they encountered was shattered, every stronghold glassed, every shipyard turned into drifting wreckage. The humans moved with machine precision, each strike calculated, each attack overwhelming. The Zyrex called for allies. None came. The other species, watching the scale of humanity's wrath, recoiled in horror. What they saw was not war, it was execution. Entire fleets of Zyrex warships, once symbols of terror, now drifted lifeless in space, their hulks serving as silent gravestones. And behind every battle, behind every strike, came the same chilling message. This is the answer. The wrath made manifest. The climax came at the Zyrex homeworld, Kershval. Lord Kersh, once triumphant, now raged and panicked as human forces approached. His people still believed their world impregnable, shielded by layers of fleets and orbital citadels. But the humans had brought something the galaxy had only heard of in whispers: the Leviathans. Massive war constructs, kilometers in length, designed not for conquest but for absolute obliteration. Each Leviathan carried enough weaponry to erase continents. They arrived in silence, their dark hulls swallowing the light of the nearby star. When they fired, HFY screamed. The planet's crust cracked, oceans boiled into clouds of steam, mountains folded into molten rivers. The Zyric's homeworld died in less than a day. Lord Kersh never sent another message. His empire vanished with him. Ashes and silence. When the fires finally burned out, the Zyric's dominion no longer existed. Their fleets were wreckage. Their colonies were glass and ash. Their history was over. The galaxy, once confident in humanity's restraint, now spoke in whispers. In markets, in council chambers, in hidden refugee camps, the words repeated like prayer. Never provoke Earth again. Species that once looked down on humanity now bowed their heads. Treaties were signed, not out of respect, but out of fear. Children grew up learning of New Carthage and the terrible vengeance it unleashed. And humanity. Humanity returned to silence. Their fleets withdrew. Their soldiers went home. The Leviathans vanished back into the void. Earth did not boast, did not gloat. Because their vengeance was not meant to inspire glory. It was meant to teach. The galaxy had learned the lesson. Human patience is vast, but their vengeance is infinite. The Zyrath Dominion had watched humanity's rise with detached amusement. To them, Earth was a young world of soft-skinned bipeds, too sentimental, too slow to adapt, too bound by codes of morality that had no place in the brutal calculus of galactic power. So when the Dominion's warlords convened, they spoke with laughter. They think treaties protect them, rasped High Overseer Verkesh, his mandibles clicking in satisfaction. They hide behind words and laws. Let us remind them what power looks like. And so a decision was made, not for conquest, not for necessity, but for display. A human trade outpost on the edge of the Perseus Arm, home to 50,000 civilians, was chosen as the target. The Dominion's fleet descended without warning. Orbital strikes rained down like cruel stars. Cities of glass and steel turned to dust within minutes. Evacuation ships, crowded with children and families, were hunted, their drives ruptured, their hulls burning as they fell back into the atmosphere. When the silence finally settled, only ashes and drifting wreckage remained. The Overseer watched the devastation with cold eyes. "A single strike," he declared. "That is all it takes to tame a species like theirs." Celebrations in the void. The destruction of the outpost rippled through the Dominion's channels like a triumphant song. Captains boasted of their precision. Soldiers celebrated the slaughter as a victory feast. The Dominion's propaganda stream spread the footage across allied worlds, humans screaming as fire consumed them, the desperate signals silenced one by one. "They will not dare retaliate," sneered Admiral Thrix. "They are too few, too fractured. They still believe war is something that can be civilized." In council chambers, alien envoys chuckled politely at the Dominion's cruelty, careful not to show unease. After all, the humans had always claimed patience, restraint, diplomacy. They had never unleashed their full arsenal. To many, Earth was a quiet giant, a trading partner, a builder of colonies, not a warrior. The Dominion fed that illusion. "Strike a human once," they proclaimed, "and they will bend. Strike them twice and they will beg." But far from their halls of arrogance, A silence deeper than any void began to form on Earth itself. The quiet before the answer. The transmissions reached Saul within hours, a colony erased, families butchered, no survivors. In the halls of Earth's assembly, leaders stood without speaking. No debates, no politics, only the heavy, suffocating silence of grief that slowly hardened into resolve. Admiral Cade, commander of the Terran Defense Armada, spoke only once. They struck once, that is all they will ever be allowed. Within moments, every comm line across Earth's military sectors lit up. The ancient protocols, buried, whispered of, almost forgotten, were reactivated. The black directives. Dockyards that had lain dormant thundered to life. War engines, hidden beneath oceans and hollow moons, rose from their resting places. The stars above Earth filled with the movements of ships vast enough to cast shadows over continents. Across the colonies, reservists received 2 words on their encrypted channels: mobilize now. And as fleets aligned and weapons came online, the galaxy began to feel a cold dread creep into its bones. For the first time, humans were not speaking of restraint. They were preparing for annihilation. When the sun went dark, the Dominion fleet that had struck the colony was still patrolling the ruins, basking in their own cruelty, when space itself seemed to shudder. It began with shadows. Dozens of enormous human warships, ships the Dominion had never cataloged.